We good?
Yep, we're good.
Okay. All right. So a few detailed notes about last sprint, and then we're in sprint 18 now. These are from last sprint. In the entity management, we did upgrades for UAT, which I'll show you those today if I get some time. Create customer record expansion, MSG. We researched for a nickname database. That'll help us when we create customers so that we could potentially find a duplicate based upon a nickname or a different name. Creation of IWDS accounts when we create the customer. Does it call over to workNet to find out if they have an account or create one if they don't? We had some some date of birth validation. We added some disability info bubble, and these are just a few things that happened during this run, this last sprint. Participant summary tools, accommodation question, some guidance text, and then we did a bunch of database migration. So data coming over. So it won't be long, and you'll see quite a bit of data coming into UAT. We're doing a little bit of that as we go. These are the milestones that are under discovery. Customer intake, WIO applications are expanding, incorporate WIO applications. Case management stuff is going on. So case management from a universal career plan, assessments and case notes, those are all being under discovery. The measured skills gain stuff that we're working on, discovery and development. Negotiated goals for IPATs. There's some federal reporting. That stream is going on continuously. And then entity management, we're now pretty deep into the training program. Had a couple of meetings on that. We'll have another one next week, hopefully, so we can get that defined. So that's all the things that are going on right now. Any questions on about status? Okay, so today we're going to have a presentation. I believe this is Lynette filling in a customer and application listing. So we're going to do a UAT introduction to the next session, the next cycle for kind of like you did before, but now we're going into the customer side. So Lynette, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Kyle. So just like Al said, a lot of what you've tested already was entity, and I think we looked a little bit at searching the customer. This is going in and looking at the list of customers and applications, and then creating a customer record. And then in this document, we're going to point out the parts that, the customer piece links to so many other pieces, but we point out in this document where things may not work just yet because we're still working on stuff, but but we're looking for some feedback on the customer and application search, the listing, and then creating a customer. I know that one of the other things that we talked about with the customer record is reducing the number of duplicate entries for customers. So we have a first go at trying to dedupe things here, and because I know just testing all this is going to take a lot of time. We're going to actually do a deeper dive into trying to create duplicate records next week. So by all means, test it here, and I'll point out when we get there. But know that we're going to go deeper dive into that next time, so that you have time between the next 2 weeks to really deep dig into both of these parts and get this well tested, because we know this is kind of the meat of what your folks use every day. So just want to in the overview and really cycle, this is similar to what you've seen in our other documents. I'm going to go over them real quickly. I know that we're talking about customer records and stuff like that, but this is not a lockdown environment, so just want to keep, keep you guys in the know and make sure that we're not putting, real customers and real PII into the system just yet. We're not, the testing site is not secure. And then for this week, we have split out the areas to test, which are the customer listing, the filters, the hamburger exports and views, and the same in the application. It's very similar. And then the duplicate customer search, verification, and creating a customer record. And then the due date is like our other ones is Tuesday at noon, and that just allows us time to be able to gather all your feedback into the OneNote and then understand and review, what y'all found, and then get the appropriate items into be fixed that we find during the UAT. So access to the UAT environment, we have the link here, and then we have the link to the reporting notebook as well. So when you pop over to the reporting notebook, you can see there's a space there for release 1, cycle 4. That's where we're going to put our entries for this time. You can see it is split out with the view customer list, view application list, and the add customer. Then logging your entries, you can detailed information. If you have a little screenshot, that's cool too. And then if you have any other issues accessing any of the pieces, you can reach out to a member of the BA team or Sarah to get some answers. And then we talked about expectations, and then this just explains the different kinds of feedback. So when something doesn't perform as expected, it's a bug. If it's an issues, it's it's working how we intended, but it's it's not working. It's not working in a way that would be useful. And then enhancements. So this is like new stuff that it would be cool if. You don't really have to worry about categorizing things into bugs, issues, and enhancements, but you may hear us using that lingo. So when we keep those definitions in this document so that you're aware. And then best practices. You want to think like the end user, be specific and thorough, and then give context to, if we put some feedback in there, explain why, like it would have, enhancement would be helpful, or why something should work the way it should. Any questions on the ground rules?
Hi, this is Christy. I'm sorry, I have a quick question.
Sure.
So the folder that you're showing, not the, well, the screen that you're showing us, we still have access to that, correct? Or you have to
Yes.
resend us the link or whatever?
Yes, I put the link in the chat to the main user acceptance testing, and then we'll send you these documents, and that has the link to the document, to the OneNote, and to the testing site.
Okay, so we are gonna get a new link from you guys.
Yeah, I'll send this specific stuff after the meeting.
Okay, thank you.
So we'll be able to access this document that you're, just in case we want to review it, that you have on your screen now, right?
Yes.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Lynette, this is Carmine. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I just joined the team a couple of days ago, about a week ago, and I just wanted to know if there's anything that I need to catch up on, or am I good to start my reviews from here?
You're gonna start your reviews from here. I'm gonna have to get you some access. So let me write down your name.
I do have access already, I think.
Oh, okay.
Unless there's
Cool.
been any changes.
No, there's not. But
Okay.
I'll,
Sarah
well-
Maddox or Sarah Graham sent me access.
okay, perfect. Then she already took care of me.
Okay, great.
She's on top of it.
Um,
Yeah, you're good to start from here. That top part for mine, just kind of explains the overall, you know, intent of what UAT is. It has all the links. And then if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to help you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Matt.
And I see a couple of people, Jessica and Monique, need help accessing the site. I will work on that. So, the page 3 of the document starts here and starts explaining the new updates and the filtering and switching between the modes, so you can see the listing of the customers and the applications. It'll make way more sense when I roll just a little further and show you a screenshot. So it gives you a paragraph explanation, and then it shows you here a screenshot of the application in customers view application menu, and then gives you a list of you see all the little parts, and there's an explanation below of what all those pieces are and how they work. And so I want to point out, you have the search panel, you have the right panel, and you can search it. And then I want in red here. So like this is where in red, we're going to point out things that don't quite work yet. In status, like when you're looking down the application list and in status, we don't have applications. We have some things kind of, so you see some data, but it's not a real application just yet because we have not built that part. So when you filter, and we don't have statuses. So when you filter on that, it's not going to work. So if we know that things are not going to work, we're going to put it in red here, so that you don't waste your time testing it. And so you can have a heads up of where we are with development. Same with the advanced search. The workNet ID is not tied up to the application or customers just yet. And then there's an application date range that shows up in the advanced search field if you're on customers or on applications. And that's going to show up on both sides, but obviously the application date range only works with applications. So we thought it was a little confusing, so that's why we have it on there. And then I'll show you like all the buttons, and we'll go a deeper dive when I show you the app. And then this just tells you about all the other features in the drop downs, the export buttons, and then the customer link. So you will be able to search and see customers, and when you click on customers, like a customer's name, it will have a hyperlink, and it will go to what we have so far of the customer profile. That part is not ready for show yet. So while you will link to something, it is not it's not all the way done and ready for us to view just yet. So you don't need to test that part. And then on the application list, you can see when you will have tabs to flip between customers and applications. Looks very similar. And then moving on to the create customer record, you'll see at the top of the customers list where you'll have to add a customer. And then we go through the duplicate customer search. And this is where, like I said, next week we're going to do an exercise just trying to sneak any duplicates in the system we can. So you can test like putting multiple customer names in here if you want. That's up to you. But I know everyone is very busy, so we have dedicated time for that next week. So with when you add a customer, it's going to try to look for a customer based on part of the name and the date of birth. And it's going to look for duplicates and then confirm that it is for real a new entry before you move on. And I'll show you how that works. So if you look at if you have a name and it looks similar or is part of the, has a match in the deduping, it's going to ask you to confirm before you make a new customer. So that, the career planner or the person doing the entry of the customer into the system can say, yeah, I'm for sure this is not, they're not the same person. And so some of the new features of the customer record is we're only asking questions that are needed to make the record. And we went through an exercise just to move unneeded questions to the right part of the intake process. All of the questions were reviewed and verified for equitable language. And then we've made a brand new screen that gives some of that language and gives the career planner a real, they can read what's on the screen, they can, and it gives them some language to start by to get the customer entered into the system. So you can see it's a shorter form. It has your first and last name. It talks about, identifies if they need any assistance with needs or adjustments to participate in the program. It asks for their zip code and email address. And then there's a second section that asks more personal information, and the customer has the ability to either answer, or there's a drop down for saying that they do not wish to provide that information right now. So those are the main parts, and we can see it's laid out in the document so you can follow along. And then before I drop over, Paul, I see your hands up.
Yeah, so just a quick question. On the bottom right there, where it says gender, select gender. Is that going to be modified at all based on the current situation that we're in, where we have people that apply to the programs that are transgender, or in the state of Illinois now, people can change their gender on their birth certificate and state IDs and everything else. So, and I guess that also goes, is there going to be like a second question that's answered about gender that asks if they've had a gender?
You can't ask that, Paul.
No, okay.
We're going to have to get guidance from DOL before we can go further on this, because Illinois is in a unique situation in which you can change your gender at birth on your birth certificate. So that is something that we put in our waiver request to circumvent the selective service requirement, and it was denied. So we just need to get guidance from DOL on how Illinois has to proceed going forward. So once we get something, we will definitely make sure we address it in this customer record.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm viewing the session on a laptop. It's a little bit of a smaller screen, so I can't see, but will there still be a a prefer not to answer option. I don't know why I just didn't notice it before or just forgot about it, but I know with race and ethnicity, you can select that in IWDS, for a customer when you're building an application. But I thought for some reason that for reporting purposes or whatever, that the gender question was one that they had that had to be either like male or female. So I didn't even I'd forgotten that there was a prefer not to answer. Will there at least be a prefer not to answer on that? Or like I said, I thought that was one that, like, for reporting and stuff, like, we had that there has to be either one or the other.
Yeah, and I'm just showing you the document version of it now, Rory. Well, let's look at it together when we go into the main one. I believe there's a prefer not to answer in the customer record phase. I think when you things, so that's one of the differences between, current IWDS and 2.0, right? It's we're only gonna, where possible, we're gonna only try to ask the questions once where we need to. And then if you need more supporting, or if we need information or a change in information as they go from just creating the record to going into the application and stuff like that, there'll be further questions along the way to clarify things that it already knows. And then everything from the customer record and application and other things that you do in the system will save to the customer profile. So that it'll pull out, it'll start to, like, you're gathering all this information that you know about somebody, and you won't have to repeatedly ask the same question multiple times if you already have an answer. So let's open it up, and then we'll look at it together. So I'm in the test IWDS, and then the way you get to this section is clicking from customers. And then the first piece that you'll have is the search view. So you can search on the left for a name, and then you can toggle between searching up customers or searching up an application by clicking the tab on the top. In just basic navigation, you'll have you can add additional columns on using this little box with the 3 lines. You'll hear us calling this the hamburger because it kind of looks like one. So you click on the hamburger icon, it'll have additional columns that you can add to your table for searching. You can see, since I clicked the SSN and work ID, we don't have them yet on customers here and workNet IDs, but where we would have them, they would show. And then this is a download button. So you can download your entire search, or you can download all of the customers that you have access to. So, and then on the other side, when you flip to application, you have the same hamburgers, you have more information, because when you have an application, we would have more of this information. Add as many columns as you want. And you can see, just because we're in test, some of it is filled out, some of it might be blank depending on what we have. Here's one. It seems to be getting cut off when we have lots of columns. So that is something that we'll enter as a button. But you'll see that you have the name, the date of birth, applicant, career planner, and where there's an I, you can highlight over and click over their name, and you get like the career planner's name. Moving the columns, I don't think you'd be able to move them over, but you can uncheck stuff. And I think it just adds to it. So
yeah, we had our devs look into that question to see if you could reorder the columns, and they just did not have a good solution on how to do that.
thanks, Taylor. Appreciate the assist there. And so, for, let's move over to customers, you can search by name, you can search by date of birth, using a selector, or, when you type in here, it's, you can type in their last four. You can look at their programs. I'll let you know that we do have folks associated with adult dislocated worker and youth as far as the test data goes. So far, you can see that all the other programming is listed under here, but you may not see customers show up in your search, and that just is due to the data that's in the system. And then a status. You can see that it's here. You'd be able to look up by applicant, active, participant, exited, participant, or none. This one we don't have statuses available yet because we don't have applications yet. So if you try to play with this one, you will likely see that there are no responses. When you do so I'm going to do a search result. Oh, that's not good. That's not it here. So you can see we have customers here, Mark, and then you come down here, you can choose to export your search results or all data. When you click on it, it comes up and it's an Excel format. Then you have some advanced search options here. You can select by OEA, you can select to look by workNet ID or an application range. Once you have them all set, then you hit the search button and that's what starts showing folks up. You can choose one of these customers. You can go in there. This is a very rough first draft, and we're not ready to test this part yet, but you know that it goes through, and you can kind of get a feel for what the next part would be, but you don't have to verify every item on the screen. And then you have a back to customer list. So we're going to work on adding a customer, and then we can walk through the add customer record. So when you first hit the add a customer, it's going to open up a search for you to look up by the first name, last name, date of birth. And so I have a bit of a test with Olivia here. You can start typing. And when you hit search existing customers, oh, because I have them backwards. You're going to see that there are three other people that are matched on at least two of these. So it's matching on these three. It's matching if this and this match, this and this match, or if all three match. So you can see we have three Olivias. They all have the same date of birth. And then you have the zip code. And you can add the other fields too if you need to, but you're entering a new customer. You're looking to enter a new customer. So you can either choose one of these three or you can click on add a customer. Paul?
Yeah, so for the name, participant
Mhm.
name, in the previous screen, you had preferred name that you could fill out. So just as a production thing, do we need to clarify? I mean, is that first name supposed to be their birth name? If we're asking for a preferred name on the other screen?
So you haven't even, so this is a brand new customer. So you haven't even gotten to the part where you have a preferred name just yet. In the customer profile, like, you'd be able to, someone gives you someone gives like my name, Lynette Tritz, right? And then, I tell you 2 sessions from now that, yeah, most people call me Lynn, or, that you would have the ability to put that in the preferred name in the customer profile, so that it comes up after that.
Okay, because I'm just wondering, like in the current IWDS, when you put in a name and create a customer and certify the application, you can't change their name, right? In that customer record. At least we can't. And so if somebody comes in, because, Illinois may not be unique to this, but because of the laws that have changed, if a person comes in and they say, hey, my name is John Doe, but that's actually their preferred name, right?
Mhm.
We create the customer as John Doe. Now we gotta change their name once we get to it, right? And we find out that that was actually their preferred name and not their actual name, right? So is there going to be the ability to change the name once the customer has been created and created? Like, are we going to be able to change that name? Because like right now, I think at the point where you cannot change the name for the customer is once you start the certify the application, right? Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. So if we certify the application, are we going to be able to change that name to their actual name if they use their preferred name?
So Taylor, I might need a little bit of your help on this. And you tell me where I'm wrong. So the customer, like, building a customer record and the customer profile, that's gonna, the customer profile is, once you save stuff, it's gonna be able to be changed. Things that may, once you get to certifying an application, the application record may not be able to be changed. But I think you're gonna be able to change what's in the customer record at any time.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it would work. So if you had John Doe and you certified their application as John Doe, and then they come back and go, oh, well, my legal name is Jonathan, you could go onto the customer profile and update that. So the first name says Jonathan and the preferred name says John, but their application name wouldn't change on that certified app.
Okay.
Well, then I'm gonna play devil advocate. Why would we start doing something like that? Because now you're inviting anybody to come in here and they'll start giving any kind of name. And then what happens if that person try to go to multiple location and give bogus names and bogus name and bogus social security number and continue service elsewhere? I don't see the logic behind having that type of setup, because with the old IWDS, we wanted the correct name from birth, social security, to make sure it matched for record in case of you had to send stuff to for tax purpose. Now you're saying that you want to start being able for everybody to start changing name. Well, I don't think that's a good idea. That's just my thoughts, and I'm gonna I hear what everybody else have to say.
Mark?
Yeah, and Robert, just think how we're transitioning with utilizing more attestation as verification means. We just can only go with what they tell us because we can't mandate certain documents anymore. We can ask for them, we can't mandate them.
Oh, okay. If it's
And
not
so
mandate,
that's how I'm
okay,
looking at
gotcha.
it is
Okay,
if we're
okay.
relying on attestation more, we just have to rely on what they give us. And if they don't give us a birth certificate, we don't deny them services.
Now, again, we make it clear to them, a career planner should always be making it clear, these things you're telling me as you transition from our program to employment or further education could affect those. So we need you to be honest. We need you to be forthcoming. We need you to be, fair to yourself in our program, that you're not setting us up for failure, much less yourself. But we can't mandate social security numbers. We can't mandate birth certificates. We can't mandate a lot of things we used to. And so we just kind of got to go with what they tell us. And if they change their mind later, that's again kind of going along the self-attestation. I mean, I agree with you. I hope and would expect that doesn't happen often in the thousands and thousands of people we deal with, that they're going to give us a name and they might change from given name to preferred name because they're like, oh, well, when I first came in, I just assumed you wanted my legal name. And I really don't like that you call me Jonathan versus John. I'd prefer being called John. Okay, well, do you want us to put that in the record? Then let's put it in the record. I think it's just going to be more a misunderstanding than it's going to be someone trying to game the system. But the one thing it does bring up, to your point, is, we're trying to find identical records so that we don't put multiple people or multiple records in for the same person. So I guess the question still is posed to 2.0 staff. How are you going to match those people up if that name changes? If they come in and say, I'm Jonathan, and then later they say, I'm John, and we change a record, and, they come back for services with the name John, and we go, well, we don't have a John, so it must be a new person.
So
We are
as far,
working on implementing a nickname database. So when you do this duplicate customer search, if you search John Doe with that date of birth, it would still pull up Jonathan Doe because John would be a nickname of Jonathan. And then the career planner would be able to go, oh, well, there's a Jonathan Doe with the same date of birth. Is this you? And you'd be able to verify that with that information.
Yeah, so I was kind of going more in the lines of people who are changing their names because of their preferred gender. So, if you have somebody that comes in and was in the program as John, right? And now, 3 years later, they come into the program and apply, and they're saying their name is now Sally, okay? So now the nickname filter isn't going to work for that. So how, I guess I'm just asking, how will the system be able to filter that? Because now that people can change, have their preferred name and change their name, and if they go through a name change process and then they present a whole different name, and we can't ask for necessarily social security numbers. So
Well, you can ask for them, though. Don't forget, Paul. You can always ask for it.
You can ask
and
for
you
it.
should, yes.
Yeah. So if that's the case, for are we going to be required to put in a social security number in the system? And if not, then how is it going to catch Sally and John to be the same person? You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
I mean, go ahead, Lynette, and answer from a system perspective. I'll kind of give.
From a system perspective, there's only so much we can do, and this is a great case for us to work out when we do next week when we're trying to break stuff. We'll probably have to go. So I'm going to take a note where we're going to go in and change somebody, like we're going to change Olivia's name here, right? From, Olivia to, Oliver or something like that, and see if you can look it up on the other two pieces of information and try to verify. And potentially that we show preferred name here, maybe. And we can do that because you'd have the other two pieces of information. You can put in the phone number, those kind of things, and if they're the same. That's something that we could try next week. But we're going to try our best to reduce the amount of duplicates that we can as much as possible. But I think down to what Mark said, we can only do a little bit of what folks give us, and and try to eliminate most of the scenarios. But I don't think we're going to eliminate 100% of scenarios with a nickname database and searching. We'll have to probably develop some training standards and entry standards as well that we share with all the folks who enter in this information, so that we're all kind of entering the same way.
Yeah, Rory, and then I'll follow up on that.
Oh, thanks. And this, sorry, might not be a good time to ask because I don't want to, but were we talking at one point way back, early in the sessions about, I don't know if this would be a solution or maybe not, but because it sounds like, I mean, I guess the birth date is always going to have to be required and always going to have to be in there. So I guess you can just look by birth date, just compare like, oh, they have the same birth date, and then you just go in. But I couldn't remember, we were talking about with, and I think we had referenced like how IBIZ, like with claims now, instead of having to look them up by social security number, they get like a claim ID or something. Was when we were talking about like unique identifiers for a person. So I didn't know. So it sounds like the date of birth is the one thing. Well, you could do address, but they could move. But the date of birth is the one thing that's always going to be required. That's always going to be a constant. That's the one constant, right? If there's no other unique, if we're not going to be necessarily always collecting social security numbers, searching by the last four. So it sounds like we could still kind of search or just compare like by date of
Well,
birth.
and you're correct, but again, that's the real big problem with self-attestation throughout this. And again, I think we can spend all day thinking of these scenarios that'll happen a handful of times in a year or multiple years. But the same person could come in later and give you a different birthday too, if you don't have to verify it through an actual document because they can self-attest. So, we can think of all these scenarios and,
Oh, okay.
something's going to slip through the crack because we
Well,
have no way.
It's going to happen. People going to play. They're going to
Right.
they're going
I
to do
don't
it.
think-
They do it now, and they're going to do it even more. But like you said, if we don't have to document anything, well, this is what we got to expect. So it's going to happen. I know it because I saw it happen before with other people. They work the system, especially with people who want to get classes paid for. And if our area could pay anywhere from 7 to 10,000, Chicago could pay anywhere from 10 to 15. This one. Hey, I'm gonna be honest with you guys, all of you guys, I would do it because there's nothing to stop me. Okay, now say if I do it, who's going to go through the legal problem of trying to get all of that back? Where's the responsibility going to lie? There's none from that point. And that person could be long gone because we don't even know how that person might set up his stuff. He could get stuff rechanged and say, "Oh, show up a thing to say my name had changed." He go my legal name. Can you update all my school document to read this name? It's going to work. I'm just saying this. I'm just voicing my concern, but let's
Yeah,
move on.
I think it's really about career planning and the words we use and try to encourage, and obviously don't give them the thought that this can happen. You don't tell them they have to provide a social security number to get, but you request it and you give them the reasons why it's important for them to provide it, and then you move
Absolutely.
on. But from a reporting purpose, don't forget, once they're in the system as under a certified application, that stuff's what goes into reporting. They don't change. They don't change their program. Just because they turn 25, they're still a youth, even if they're 30. Certain things doesn't change. The reporting can't change. So, if it's certified in a given name, and I like what Lynette said, is you can go in there and put a preferred name later. But what you have is certification. That's what we start reporting on. We have to keep that maintained. Otherwise, we lose reporting. And maybe Laura or anyone else here that hopefully would either agree or if they disagree. I just think it's important to know that certain things can't be changed or we lose all our reporting on that individual.
And that's how we've kind of built the system. So you know that things are going to change with the person as they go through the process, because a lot of the folks you serve are kind of in limbo, right? And so And we're gonna give you places where you can make that update so that it's correct and you can reach out to people and you can do the necessary communication that you need to do. But there are parts like in the application and the reporting where it's gonna be frozen and you can't. And that's to preserve the record keeping that we have to do. So the building the customer record and profile is going to be one of those places, but the application is where it's going to get locked down to where things are going to have to, because that's where the bulk of the reporting comes from. In the customer record phase here, we're just starting that reporting process to get them as a reportable individual. So we're gathering that information, and in the add customer record this part, we're getting them in there. We're asking just the questions that we need to make him a reportable individual, and then with conversations with the customer, between the customer and the career planner, you guys can decide where to go next. So the system allows you the freedom to work along your process, and then we'll implement other standards along the way that we'll use through training and that kind of thing to help lock down the process and just make sure that we're getting as truthful information as we can. So to create a customer record, like say that I looked it up, I have none of these Olivias are my Olivia. And so I I just added Olivia Miller's with an S. It's the birth date was off. It was on the 8th. I had it wrong first time. And so this really is a new unique customer. So to do that, I'm going to click the add customer. It's going to say, hey, I searched and I found these 3 that are close. Are you sure? And as the person entering the person in the system, I'm going to hit I verify it and open it up to start the creating of a new customer record. And hopefully this is a little bigger than the document I shared, and then we can go through each of the questions. So you can see on the create customer record, I, just like everywhere else, give a little more information about the page and how to enter stuff, information that a career planner would want to know. And you can see this language went through our equity and inclusion group, and it provides recommended language for a career planner or an entry system person to say, and then just explains a little bit about each of the sections. First question here is to help better serve you, are there any specific needs or adjustments we can assist with to ensure you can fully participate in the program? First one just says yes, no, I don't know, or prefer to answer. If the customer says yes or I don't know, a second question will pop up. So you can hit yes. And it says what kind of accommodations or adjustments you may need to ensure we provide the right supports. You can see it says accessible, assistive, accessible workplace, environmental modifications or language support or other. And then this is another one. When you click on it, when you hover over it, it has the things, but you can see it's getting cut off. And then there's a search bar below, and you can't move side to side. We found this yesterday when we were testing. And so it explains what they are. And we're going to see if we can get that moved over so it always shows on the screen all of the text. There's the entry for first name, middle initial, last name. You can see that first, last name. Now that we've moved past just the 3 pieces of information, you can see that the name that we gave and the birth date that we entered came into this screen. And then there's a few other required fields. So zip code is required. And then the email address is also required. Then you can ask here, best phone number to reach you. But you can see it's not required, but you can start gathering some of that information for the next contact. Then you can see the next questions below help finish out the Pearl requirements for portable individual. You can see that there's a section and it gives you some information about, you know, why we need this information. This is information that the person who's doing the entry can give to the customer. And then you can see birthday came over, and then do you identify as Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin? You have a yes, no, prefer not to answer. Race, races or ethnicities identified. You can have American Indian or Alaska Native, Asian, Black, Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, white, or prefer not to answer. You get, this is a multi-select box. You can choose as many as needed. And then the sex assigned to you on the at birth on your birth certificate. You have a male, female, prefer not to answer in this space as well. So Rory does have the prefer not to answer.
Oh, got it. Thank you.
Thought it did, but I wasn't sure. And then this one, do you identify as person with a disability? Yes, no, or prefer not to answer. And then do you identify as a veteran or spouse of a veteran? This one doesn't have the prefer not to answer. It's yes, no, qualifying spouse or transitioning member. And then you get the box to add the customer. So this is where the testing for this session stops here. If you get to this point, you're good. And we're just really looking for your feedback as to how this all works, entering multiple customers, the search functionality, looking up folks, how that works. And then in next time, I've taken some of the notes from our conversation today, and we'll build up some more test scenarios on getting folks entered, and we will try to break. We were going to try to break the dupes selector. So, and then I have a couple of folks who said in chat that they don't have access. I'll work on that and send you an email separately. Any other questions or anything else we want to talk about for this week's assignment? The selective service questions, Rory, are in the application. When we get there, we'll talk about that.
Oh, thank you, Lynette. No, I was thanking you guys, Laura, and you guys for clarifying that. I haven't been on the case management side of things in a while. I mean, other than like reviewing and internally like monitoring files. So I haven't like entered a customer. I mean, I've done like applications and then put in service records and stuff like that. So I had just forgotten that like on the customer menu that it was even an option. And then no, I appreciate you guys clarifying that that it's once they need to be certified for an application or to be enrolled in a WIOA service because of the selective service, I need to determine if there's selective service required or not. That's when it's not an option to prefer not to answer. You have to select male or female. So that's why I was confused because I was like, oh, I didn't even think that they gave you the option to say prefer not to answer, on the IWDS screen for that. So no, thanks you guys for clarifying that and for pointing it out on the screen. That was just me totally not remembering something I should have remembered from years of using IWDS.
No worries. The new system's new to all of us, and we're gonna learn together. But yeah, so I will help. I'll get info out to those folks who can't access. We'll work more on breaking it next week. And if you have any questions about this week's assignment, feel free to reach out to anybody on the list. Olivia and I are probably a good place to start for this section. And we'll talk more about this next week. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Cool.
But don't go. But don't go.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, don't go. We still have more to this program. I think Al had
All right.
some updates, right? For
Yes.
what
Yeah.
you've already tested.
No, thank you.
Yes.
Great job, Lynette.
Okay. I'm gonna switch gears here. We're gonna go back to entity management. And I'm gonna show you this document is just a release note list. Can we see that? This document right here. Can
Yeah.
everybody see
Can
that?
see.
Yeah.
I can
Okay,
see
okay.
that.
Okay, good. I'm going to go through these real quickly, but as this is a response to the UAT that you did for entity management, location, contacts, relationships, so that we want to make sure you know that we are responding to what you're finding and all that. I'm going to give you a couple tips here. You notice up here, this up here says version 24.10.3. Okay. That's going to become important, and I'll show you where that's at. Right here at the bottom of your UAT, you got 24.10.3. This also tells you you're in UAT, and that tells you you're in UAT also. So the reason that is important is because when you find something that's wrong, you want to kind of look at that, and you'll probably want to put that in your OneNote that you found it in that 24.10.3 if that's where you found it. That will increase every time we move a new version into UAT. If we went to our development testing QA environment, you would see this number is higher because it goes up daily, but we only bring one of those versions over here. So if you see this skip from 24.10.3 to 24.10.15, say, don't worry about that. We don't put every version over into UAT that's being developed because it's going through testing cycles and all that over there. So it may take 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 versions or more in our side in the development and QA environment before we finally want to move it over here, because we certainly don't want to move over stuff that's not working, and we want to make sure we move over stuff that has a lot of good functionality. Okay, so I just wanted to tell you that real quick. This will be available too. And so first of all, the entity list filter collapsed social services. That was a request. We're going to go in here real quick. So down here, you'll see social services collapsed. You'll also see, which I didn't have on there, this is what we call sticky or sticking to the bottom. And so now you don't have to scroll this whole window up to find it because it's always there. Okay, so those are two improvements we made in this area. Social services was big and taking up a lot of space, and then this was way down, and you had to scroll to it each time to get to it. So just a few enhancements there that everyone asked for. And then this works like this, fund types and these social services work the same way. And so you'll see two are selected there. And then of course, reset works like that. Okay. Add entity duplicate check, default to FEIN. So this right here used to be defaulted to SSN. So we've defaulted that to FEIN on, because that's the majority of identification numbers. I also forgot, you can search in here for a specific FEIN. I think Robert asked for that, but you just put an FEIN right in here and search, and it'll bring it back. We also defaulted here identification as one of the rows instead of something, or columns, I'm sorry, instead of whatever was there, doing business or something since. And you still have that capability to add something else in there, but we defaulted that in there with identification. So that's another couple things. I was just trying to make sure I found everything. So on the duplicate check, we fixed the state dropdown. We fixed these dropdowns everywhere. So if you go down here now, if you type in IL, you'll see that it comes up and you don't have to look for it. So that's fixed. Okay, add entity. So we're going to go forward. We're going to search here, and I'm going to say they're not there. Obviously, we had a lot of them there. Okay. In this add entity, we also defaulted to FEIN for the entity area. We fixed the state and county drop downs along with the tab. So down here, when you're in here, this pulled this in from my search already. So if I went down here and I sang them, you'll see it's right there. And then if I tab, I don't get that red. I just tab right into that field. So those two things were fixed. Entity location view, there's quite a few changes here. Entity functions show all. So I'm going to just kill this real quick. I'm going to go into, I don't know, let me go to this stupid one. So in here, entity location view, entity functions show all. So if you go down to entity functions, entity location view, and you go down here, you see all the functions. There's not just like 3 pills there. Whatever's selected is there. And same way social services, whatever's selected there. We may need to put a scroll on that, but that is available now. So you don't have to go into edit mode just to see them. Contacts show primary. So in the contacts section, right here, we added, this is the view mode, and we added the ability to show primary, and the primary editing and is fixed now. Relationship grid. Okay. Quite a few. This is still in this view. This is a bug, by the way, when you filter that. It goes, that's on our list. But anyway, when you sort that down here, you'll see quite a few changes. Okay. We added a standard relationship ID. Don't fear though, because we did not take away your ability to name your relationship IDs, whatever you want. So we did both. We finally landed on both, and we generate one, which you'll see in the future here. This will be the WIA. This will be the year it was created, and then a sequential number. So we just don't have any WIA set up yet. So that's why it says 00. Okay. We added sorting capability. We added the default sort so that it'll sort defaults on, I believe, I remember active before inactive in your sort. And then these are all, yeah, this is an inactive at the bottom. And then you can sort it however you want to, by date or by funding source. If you did, these are sorted in here also. So if you sort by funding source, it'll sort by the first one. And then these are sorted within there. So, okay, those were all stuff that was brought up. The dates are shown in full. They're not, we clipped this field first before we clipped this field. These were all wrapped. Small thing, but sorting and relationship sort. Okay. Add contact. In add contact here, these drop downs are all fixed also. State drop downs fixed. Also, you have, if I go use address location, it uses, this is filled in now. This was a bug. It wasn't there. This primary works. And if you hit this one as primary, then if there was one that was primary, it'll switch it to this one. So it'll do that automatically for you. It's active as default. I don't know if that was before or not. Okay. Both in location and address, or location and contact, we show a suggested address. Okay, so I just pulled in this address from the location. Okay, let me go ahead and add this contact. Should be all we need. I need a number here. And that should be it. So now when I add this contact, it'll give you a confirm address. Now this is going to confirm in Illinois. Any addresses in Illinois, it's going to confirm. We reach out to a service that's provided by another agency, and it will give you an address if it can find one. Let me get one that's evidently that's not confirmed. Okay, let's try to add this one. All right, this is what you'll get when you can when it can confirm it. It'll give you a recommended one. I typed this in pretty accurately, but it always does want to convert those from this service to uppercase. I could take that, or I could take the one I have. It looks like the one I have is just as good. And I can continue. If you take the other one and continue, it'll just change that for you, save it, and come back. So that's how that worked. That was a contact we just put in there. So if I go view that contact, you'll see, I guess we don't show, yeah, we do right here. No, I didn't, that's not saved correctly. That's a bug. And then okay, any functions fixed. Oh, so when I edit this location, we had some trouble in here. Now we have two that work the same for entity functions and social services. So it works accordingly. And then this one works like this. And then when if I take this and go pull a couple off there, it'll tell me. And then when I get back to here, after I save it, then I can see them all. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So
Nice.
that's a big change. That you had a lot of problems in this area. I know. Go ahead, whoever that was. Somebody had something. Okay. And that's it. This document will also be available, so you can see the things that were in the note. If you want to look at the note again, you can. Of course, it's all out there still. It's the same one we're using for customer, the new stuff today. So if you want to go back at any time and look at that or play around with any of the UAT from the entity management side, feel free to do that. I just wanted to make sure you knew that we responded to quite a few items. And that's all I have. Any questions? Any questions at all? Oh, okay. Does the standard date-based relationship ID number get auto-generated because of ease of reporting? Yes, that's the reason. We wanted consistency across, but we didn't want to take away the capability if you had some kind of standard within your local area, and also the potential possibility that you might have it linked to some audit, accounting or something like that, or other reporting system. So that's why we did that. We just left both, or added both. And yes, you can do that. So you still have, you don't even have to deal with the other one. If I go in here and add a new relationship, it looks pretty much the same. It's just called local relationship ID here, but you don't even see the other one that's generated. Once you get back to it generates one when we save this. And then once we get back to so I can put in anything I want here. Up to 12 still. and whatever up to 99 there. And then I can save that. Okay. Now, so now I didn't do anything with that, but I'll just show you here. That should come in down here. Right here's the one I just added, and it put in the new generated number. This will be your LWIA. This will be your LWIA when you do it. We just haven't got all that. As you all know, we haven't got the LWIA hooked up, and we do know about this bug here. This is sliding. This drop down here is sliding a bit behind that. We'll get that fixed. If you go back, so anything else? Well, thanks very much for your time, and definitely please get out there and focus in on Olivia's release with customers that when that presented today, and then anything you got on the you happen to see on any management, don't hesitate to continue to tell us about that too. All right, we good on that, Taylor?
Yep,
I'm
I'm
good.
good.
Thank you all.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.